Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with the impact the new coronavirus is having on families and businesses as that virus continues to spread. Entire cities in China have now virtually shut down, not just in Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak, but across mainland China. Canada today upgraded its travel warning, advising Canadians to avoid all non-essential travel to all of mainland China. And Air Canada today suspended direct flights to the mainland. The government has now organized a charter flight to bring home Canadians caught in the lockdown in Wuhan. There's no clarity, though, on when that will happen or where those people will go.
Part of the process now is figuring out exactly what our protocols will be when we return Canadians that wish to come home. And we're working very closely with our U.S. counterparts, who obviously have some experience in this.
A charter flight carrying nearly 200 Americans from the Wuhan area touched down at an airbase in California today. The people were screened before boarding. None showed symptoms. They've agreed to voluntarily quarantine themselves for 3 days. And Japan brought out 210 of its citizens on a plane today. The health ministry says 3 of them have tested positive for the virus. The UK is making plans to fly its citizens home from Wuhan. They'll be quarantined for 14 days. Australia plans to fly as many as 600 of its people out of Wuhan and quarantine them for up to 2 weeks on Christmas Island, more than 1,500 kilometers away from the Australian coast, at the site of an immigration detention center. More than 7,700 cases have now been confirmed in China, an increase of 1,700 compared to this time yesterday. And there are more than 12,000 suspected cases. 170 people have died. There are now more people in China sick with this new coronavirus than became ill with SARS in China in 2003, though fewer people have died. That rapid acceleration has led the World Health Organization to reconvene its emergency committee tomorrow. It will determine whether to declare a global public health emergency.
I believe that the world is pulling together to respond to this outbreak. We are at an important juncture in this event. We, as WHO, believe that these chains of transmission can still be interrupted.
And that remains the hope. But right now, Canada is ramping up plans to get about 160 Canadians out of the Wuhan area. Abigail Beeman has been talking to some of them and has our top story tonight.
We get up in the morning, we brush our teeth.
Routine is key for Canadian Wayne Duplessis and his family as they spend most of their days inside their Wuhan apartment.
It was like being in a Walking Dead episode. There's no one around. And you're used to things being a little quiet because all the bikes are electric, right? All the motorcycles are electric. And so you're used to things kind of coming up on you. I turn a corner and boom, there's like 20 people in masks.
We have a lot of food stocked up because of Chinese New Year and family members not coming here since the breakout. So generally, nobody in the house goes outside.
Vancouverite Patterson Wu was visiting his girlfriend's family in Wuhan when the outbreak began. He says entertaining himself is easier than staying positive as the number of sick grows. And he wants Canada to do more.
We're supposed to be one of the most modern countries in the world. And it's kind of sad to see, Koreans and Japanese, they all mobilize so fast. America, but we're so slow.
I would disagree with you because...
In Ottawa, the Foreign Affairs Minister pushed back on the claim Canada is slow as he announced Wednesday afternoon that a plane has been secured to get the 160 Canadians in China who want help out.
Canada is at the forefront of the response. We are talking with the allies.
And it's not an easy decision, but we've decided to stay put.
Duplessis is concerned about the potential of picking up the virus on the plane, though he's worried about getting sick in China, too.
One of the discussions that I had with Emily, my wife, is about sharing passwords, to our bank accounts and PayPal, that sort of thing, with our daughter who's in Indonesia. And if worst came to worst, and we were no longer here.
As of Wednesday afternoon, Canada updated its travel advisory to China, warning against all non-essential travel. But there are still many unanswered questions, such as when the plane will arrive, what happens to the people on board once they land, and who pays the bill. Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
The vast majority of confirmed cases are in China, but one thing that's not clear yet is whether China's attempt to contain the virus is working and whether people without symptoms can infect others. That will make containing this much harder. The number of other countries with confirmed cases now of the new coronavirus is rising. At least 18 countries and territories are reporting it. Finland has confirmed its first case, and the United Arab Emirates has also confirmed a case, the first in the Middle East. Heather Urix-West looks at the global response.
How quickly this virus is spreading outside of China may prompt the World Health Organization to finally declare the outbreak an international health emergency.
Although the numbers outside China are still relatively small, they hold the potential for a much larger outbreak.
The World Health Organization says at least 6 cases of the disease have now been transmitted outside China. In Germany, 4 people have become ill after a woman with no symptoms traveled from China for business meetings.
She was asymptomatic on arrival, but became ill shortly before taking her return flight.
While there are still questions around how this new strain of the coronavirus spreads, most cases have required prolonged close contact with someone who is already ill.
Asymptomatic transmission isn't impossible, but this would be breaking the mold, right? If suddenly asymptomatic transmission was a big way of this spreading around the world, and biologically it doesn't make sense.
Canada's 3rd case of the disease, a BC man in his 40s, has now been confirmed. Ontario has 2 confirmed cases, and as of Wednesday morning, Ontario health officials were testing 23 others. 4 people are also being tested in Saskatchewan.
I think we need to be reassured that from the 3 cases reported in Canada and other jurisdictions, in 2 instances, the confirmed cases are well enough to self-isolate at home.
But the World Health Organization says all countries need to remain vigilant as the number of sick continues to rise worldwide. Heather Urix-West, Global News.